J. Wilkes Wines Santa Barbara Facebook page should be popping up any moment. Any moment. We're going to do this tonight because I've got some stuff for you guys to see and to share. All right, so there is that. Okay, and then I'm going to go to another Facebook page. One moment.
I think it's working.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
All right. Producer Chanda has fixed all of my problems. Oh, good. But now that I see that it's working, I'm going to mute. Go there and go there. Okay, my goodness, that was only issue is it's going to be very difficult for me to see comments. So I'm going to need to go back and check comments at the very end. So if you have any comments or questions, please let me know. I'm obviously happy to help you along. And of course, now I'm doing this with Zoom, so I have the opportunity to share some screens with you. So you're going to be able to see some interesting stuff as we move along and talk a little bit about food and wine pairing. First of all, though, we always start each show with a beautiful taste of a wine. This evening, it's got to be the day because it's day drinking with Wes Hagen. We're doing Ballard Lane Zinfandel, which is my favorite red wine that we make in the Ballard Lane lineup. This is usually about $13 to $15 on the shelf. And at the end tonight, I'll tell you guys how to get this delicious Zinfandel at an incredibly low price with 1 cent per case shipping. So as we showed you guys earlier, we're getting a little light coming in. Hopefully it won't distract you too much. As I showed you earlier in the week, my favorite way to open a screw cap bottle is to hold the collar, twist, and then the top just pops right off. So I think that's kind of a cool, sexy way to open a screw cap with a little bit of flair. How many pieces of flair? Just one tonight. All right. Pour a little of this delicious ruby / garnet colored wine. Oh, goodness. Okay. Just had to fix something really quick. I cannot bang on my desk or we will lose the message on my Wes Hagen Facebook page. Welcome again, everybody. I am Wes Hagen. I am the winemaker for J. Wilkes Wines, and I'm the brand ambassador for the entire Miller Family Wine Company, which means our core four, the J. Wilkes, the Ballard Lane, the Barrel Burner, and the Smashberry wines are all my responsibility to teach you about, to get you excited about, and hopefully to get them in your glass at home. So we're doing Zinfandel today, and as I can show you, as I have, the color of this Zin, maybe I can find that beautiful light right there. You can see the sort of the light through the wine. I would call that a nice medium ruby color, a nice dark garnet. It's about the same color that I would expect from a light colored Syrah or a really nice dense colored cool climate Grenache. Zinfandel, my goodness. So what is Zinfandel? Well, Zinfandel is a California heritage varietal. Petit Syrah and Zinfandel are the only two grape varieties that we recognize as California heritage varietals. That means they've been in California just long enough that we kind of consider them genetic mutations or genetic accessions to the level that we can give them a new name for where they came from. Is Petit Syrah Durif? Yes, it is. Is Zinfandel Primitivo? Yes, it is. It also could be Castellani Kirk-Gerlach. I believe I'm saying that. Probably if you're Hungarian, you're probably laughing at me right now, but there's a lot of consonants in that word, and it's difficult for me to pronounce 6 consonants without a vowel. So you got to give me a little help. I'll just say Primitivo, which is really easy. And if you didn't know, Primitivo also has this idea that prima meaning first. So Primitivo means the grape that usually comes in first in the regions, the red grape that comes in first when it's first harvested. Sort of like Pinot Noir in Santa Maria. When you see red grapes on the back of a truck going to a winery, you know you are in harvest because the Sauvignon Blanc, the Pinot Grigio, the Pinot Blanc always goes out first, and the Champagne grapes. But then when you start seeing the red grapes come around, you know it's about time for harvest. So this is a 2017 made by Richard Shelton. And one reason I love this wine so much is it smells like somewhere between a berry pie and a grape, like almost like a grape jelly. It has a really intensely primary, fruity edge to it. Very, very high tone fruit character without being jammy. Now, Zinfandel is definitely one grape that we like to use the term Venice. When I spent some time studying wine at the University of California at Davis, I don't have a degree in enology viticulture from there, but I spent some time in the extension learning program there, as well as some classes, some weekend classes. They told us the one fruit variety that you don't use to describe wine is grapey. Grapey is something that they do not like to see in tasting notes at Davis. The term should be vinous, V-I-N-O-U-S. So this has an incredibly vinous edge to it, very grapey, a lot of really nice, tart, bright red fruits. Maybe a little bit of that sort of a nice kind of little spice to it. If you stick your nose deep in this glass and take a deep whiff, it's going to be hard to say that you don't want to immediately put it in your mouth. And this is day drinking with Wes Hagen. So let's get our day drinking on. Whatever you're drinking, cheers, clinky, clinky. I just broke the digital 6-foot rule, but there is no, analog 6-foot rule, but there is no digital 6-foot rule. So we can be as close as we want. So it's nice to be close to you tonight. And I wish you all the love and health, compassion, kindness in the world, and hope that you reflect that right back on all the people that are at least 6 feet away from you, including the people that deliver food to your house, the people in medical industry, first responders. Thank you all for keeping us alive. We'll remember after this is over who is really important to keeping the people of this country healthy and alive. It's a beautiful thing. All right, let's have a drink. Out of all the wines that I've shown you thus far, the Sauvignon Blanc, the Pinot Noir from Ballard Lane, this is the 5th show, I think. We did Barrel Burner Chardonnay, Barrel Burner Cabernet. Now we're doing the Zinfandel from Ballard Lane 17 Zin. This one hits the palate with a little more perceived sweetness, and that's glycerol, and then that's part of the alcohol. I don't think this is residual sugar. The residual sugar might be a gram higher, which is 0.1% higher residual sugar. So we're talking the difference between 0.25% residual sugar, or 2.5 grams per liter of residual sugar in the wine, and 3 to 3.5. Most women can pick up residual sugar between 3 and 4 grams, 0.3 and 0.4. A woman's tongue has higher taste bud density, as well as the olfactory lobe in their cerebral cortex would actually be usually between 75 and 100% larger than the average man's. So women smell better, both literally and figuratively. You'll hear me say this all the time. And you always trust a man to beat somebody up, and always trust a woman, or Ronda Rousey, and always trust a woman to smell, collect, nurture. Men, evolutionarily speaking, were much better at protecting, warring, killing, being aggressive, keeping their tribe safe. And the women would collect, nurture, ferment, prepare, but one of the most important things is to smell. So there, you could argue that the history of humanity and hominids went through the muscle of the man and the nose of the woman. If the muscle of the man failed, the tribe would die of hunger. And if the nose of the woman failed, the tribe would die from toxicity. So it's very important to understand that until the 12th century, fermentation was almost purely women's work. There were some monks that made some wine and some beer, but in general, fermentation was generally considered done by females in most societies, not all, but most, as a result until the 12th century. What happened in the 12th century? Distillation technology was stolen from the Arabian Peninsula, from the Muslims, who were using small alembic stills to make essential oils and medicine. And we brought it back to Europe and started turning, fermented grapes we used to feed to the pigs. We started re-fermenting them into grappa, and we basically invented liquor, the reason for and the solution to all the world's problems. This Zinfandel is absolutely delicious. Anything you're eating on a Tuesday, be killer with Taco Tuesday. It doesn't have super high alcohol as a Zin. My guess it's in the kind of 13s, high 13s, low 14s. You put a little chill on it if you're having a little spicy food. It's bright. It's light. It's delicious. It would be delicious with anything with goat cheese, anything fried with a little cheese, anything pasta, tomato, Alfredo, anything like that. It would be fantastic with light meats with a little bit of like fruit infusion in the sauce. Like if you were doing a pork loin and then finishing the pork loin with like a little bit of like fig glaze or a little bit of like raspberry vinaigrette, or how about like a steak Fiorentina finished with a little bit of, what's that stuff called? Oh, Vin Cotto. And Vin Cotto, if you don't know Vin Cotto, you should go out and order a bottle of Vin Cotto right now to be delivered to your house this upcoming week. Vin Cotto is fruit flavored, very dense, thick, almost syrupy vinegar. So think about balsamico, like a nice Modena balsamico, it's 7 to 10 years, but totally so with a lot of fruit infusion. The raspberry is the most popular. When people say Vin Cotto, they usually mean raspberry Vin Cotto, but there's also like a blood orange and orange or a tangerine Vin Cotto. There's Vin Cotto. There's like a rainbow of Vin Cotto flavors. And do a nice rare steak, or you can even use the Vin Cotto to basically soak in the steak overnight. I tend not to like marinating. I like the flavor of good meat, especially if it's prime or even choice. So I like to do just a dry rub, cook a nice piece of steak to a nice bloody medium rare, cut it nice and thin, and then drizzle Vin Cotto over the top. Once you show people what Vin Cotto tastes like on your steak at a little party, whether it's just whoever you're sequestered with, or whether you can do this after we get out of this whole sequestering thing and we can get back to having wonderful dinner parties and winemaker dinners and all that stuff, don't miss Vin Cotto. But a Vin Cotto steak, which could be called steak Fiorentina, would be absolutely perfect with this Zinfandel. It's light, it's bright, it's fruity, it's dense enough that you know you're drinking a nice red wine. And I think Richard did a really heck of a good job with this one. Again, $15 in the stores and on the Miller Family Wine Company deepest special right now, $7.50. This either was a gold medal or a double gold medal at the San Francisco Chronicle. So again, another nice wine with some nice accolades. In fact, I may have a second pour because it's Friday, damn it. All right, let me, I'm gonna throw this up real quick again because I have this stuck up very precariously, unfortunately. Hopefully it won't bother me too much. Yeah, now you can read it. And if they're not here at the J. Wilkes Wine Santa Barbara page. And of course, before we get into our main class tonight, which will be a food and wine pairing class based on the class that I teach at Allen Hancock College here in the beautiful city of Santa Maria, California, I do want to mention just a little bit really about why we're going to be teaching food and wine pairing. The first thing that we really do when we do food and wine pairing is we have a discussion about an article that Tim Haney, who's a master sommelier, I believe he's also a master of wine, an article he wrote a couple years ago entitled Wine and Food Pairing, Is It Bullshit? And I will not use very many four-letter explicatives for the kiddies in the house. But that was, I think that title needs a little punch for a master sommelier. And it was funny because I read that article just after spending some time with Michael Jordan, the short white Michael Jordan, master sommelier, incredible man, the master sommelier for the people, and he really is one of the coolest, most down-to-earth master somms on the planet. He kind of said the same thing. We were sitting there at a staff training at Ruth's Chris in Pasadena, and people started asking, are you going to tell us, maybe which ones of our wines, or maybe the wines from his company, Jackson Family, are best with each one of these meals? And he said, no, wine is delicious with food, and food is delicious with wine. And maybe we have completely and totally mischaracterized and misunderstood European and French culture, because in general, when you go to a great table in France or Italy and you sit there and eat, they don't really talk about the wine. I was really, really lucky, I think in around 1999, to get an invite through John Hadley who was a GI in World War II, who helped liberate Dachau concentration camp and drove the cellar master to Clos Vougeot from Dachau. And when he did, big surprise, he was one of the great heroes of Burgundy after the war. So brilliant man, became a Burgundy wine importer. And the name John Hadley opens up incredible doors in Burgundy. And on that trip, he's passed since, unfortunately, but he was in his early 90s, I believe, back then. He wrote a letter to Aubert de Villaine at the Domaine de la Romanée-Conti and said, would you be willing to show the Pepys and the Hagens around the Domaine de la Romanée-Conti when they come in the winter? And we got this lovely letter back that's still framed somewhere at Clos Pepy that says, of course, we'd love to have the Pepys at the Domaine. Okay. It went beyond that. After hanging out for a couple hours and tasting through the cellar, we were actually invited to dinner. And a private dinner at the Domaine. And I say this about food and wine pairing because I want to set the stage to what Americans believe about food and wine pairing. To make the long story a little bit shorter, we sat down with 6 or 7 of his friends. There was about 10 people there. There was, I think, 15, 20 bottles of mostly DRC wines. My quick summation after I wrote down in my notes which wines, and then after I'd written down which of the wines were, Aubert looked over at me and says, we really don't take notes at table. And I thought, well, that's cool. So after I wrote down the wines, I came back after and figured out we drank over $100,000 worth of wine. The average bottle of wine on that table would have probably auctioned at today's values at 7 to 12, some as high as $20,000 for 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s DRCs, Echezeaux, Grand Echezeaux. We had some Montrachet Chardonnay. It was just unfreaking believable. So $100,000 worth of wine on the table. I am ready as an American to hear some people talk about these wines. We're not going to drink $100,000 worth of wine and just drink it. Might as well be drinking anything, right? Hour goes by. First course gone. Second course, we're eating it. We're starting into some of the Pinots, finished a Chardonnay, another Chardonnay, into some Pinots, some red Burgundy, I should say. And they're talking about their dogs. $100,000 worth of wine, and we're talking about dogs. Fourth course, same deal, talking about the weather, talking about the vintage. And then right before the dessert came out and their eau de vie that they make actually as well, Aubert de Villaine stood up and said something I'll never forget. He said, for our American friends, I should say something about the wine. Shunk. Message for you, sir. That was a tough moment because I realized that maybe Americans work so hard and try so hard to make comments about wine and write tasting notes about wine. When you visit the Domaine de la Romanée-Conti or buy their wine, you're never going to see tasting notes. Their winemaker doesn't make tasting notes. Maybe Wilson Daniels does to take them out into the market and to sell them, but certainly not. They're not really interested in those tasting notes. So I think that fundamentally made me think, maybe we've misread European wine culture as Americans, and we try so hard to be extra fancy about wines that we talk them in terms of blackberry, strawberry, blueberry, loamy earth, baking spice. I mean, I use these terms all the time when I'm selling and talking about wine. So I think what they like to talk about is everything. So I re-evaluated how I think about talking about wine. And even though I sell wine for a living and I do talk about wine in terms of references and flavors, I like to say that a bottle of wine should encourage a conversation about everything except itself. We can all be narcissistic. The wine could really care. It doesn't matter what we talk about. Maybe the wine would like us to say a word or two about how delicious it is, but in the end, it really doesn't matter. All right, so let's jump right into some cool rules of wine and food pairing. I'm going to switch over right now to share my screen and put up the first slide. You guys should all see a wonderful slide that says Intro to Food and Wine Pairing. And now with any luck, I will click on said page and it will, there it is. Oh, is this the wrong one? Oh goodness, hold on, this is the wrong page. See, I knew I would have something to do. Let's see, right, okay. Share screen. There it is. And now I need to go to slideshow from beginning. All right. I'm hoping now that all of you see a page that says Intro to Food and Wine Pairing. Let's see if I were to. The last thing I'm going to do, hold steady. I'm going to put it on a page where you get to see more than that. And then I'm just going to go check on my computer to make sure this is there. There it is. All right, you read that and I will be back in a second. Drink at your own pace. Just want to make sure that this is showing up. There it is. Cool. We are official. We are live nationwide. Okay. Food pairing is the practice of creating harmonious pairings by considering flavor, texture, aroma, and intensity. And learning to pair wine with food opens up a new range of wines to enjoy and explore. And this is a really important thing. First of all, I'm not going to tell you if you're here for me to tell you how to match food and wine, you're going to miss the whole point. The real point tonight and in the future is to encourage you to play. When I was in college, I had a college professor ask me, after I read a poem out loud in a poetry class that he didn't really think was very good. He said, "Mr. Hagen, why do you want to be a poet?" I said, "Because I have something to say." He says, "That's the last thing you want to be a poet for. Poets should, the greatest thing a poet should want is to watch words play with each other." So we're not looking for perfection in wine and food pairing. We're looking for wines and food to play with each other. And let's just be honest, wine and food are delicious together. So let's figure out ways to get absolutely beautiful, harmonious matches of flavor, texture, aroma, and intensity. But let's also learn how to take chances, because I think that's going to be as important or more. So here are the simplified matching rules. I'm going to take a sip. Wine is delicious. That's the first rule. Match intensity of the wine to the intensity of the dish. So someone gave me a nice compliment on my Hank's Oyster Bar shirt. Oysters are delicate and briny. Pinot Blanc is a little bit delicate and mineral, so they should match beautifully together. The intensity of the wine matches the intensity of the dish. A nice aromatic light white wine with a nice sort of aromatic light sort of mineral character of an oyster, that would seem fine. If you're having a beef stew, the intensity of a beef stew is rich and deep and very intense. So Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Tannat, Tempranillo, maybe a Barolo or a dense Sangiovese, something that's going to have good intensity to match the intensity of the dish. So match the intensity of the wine to the intensity of the dish. Now this one takes a little thought. Match the structure level in the wine to the level of fat in the food. How about an example? All right, so high fat food. Let's talk about foie gras. So if you're having foie gras, you're going to want to match a massive level of acid to the fat needs to be matched with the acid. So the classic match with foie gras is a Sauterne, which is a high acid but very sweet white wine from Bordeaux. You could also do an ice wine with that. Or let's think of another fatty dish, something like a big ribeye steak or a cowboy steak, or something like, a filet mignon doesn't have that much fat. So let's talk about ribeye. Maybe ribeye or a New York has quite a bit of marbled fat. So if you're going to go with something that has high fat like that, you want to choose a red wine that has a lot of tannin. Cabernet Sauvignon over Merlot. Merlot over Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir has good acidity and tannin. The reason why Pinot Noir matches with almost any food you put on a plate is because it has both tannin and acid. It looks like a red wine, but it works like a white wine. It has levels of acidity that are very close to a white wine, but enough tannin to really keep it a little bit chewy and grippy in your mouth. So match the tannin and acid in your wine to the level of fat in your dish. So high fat foods, high tannin and acid, low fat foods can match with softer wines. So bridge flavors from the wine to the dish, or just throw some of that wine in the preparation, in the sauce. So if you are putting together something that is going to have like a salad that's going to have some mandarin, little mandarin wedges and a little blue cheese. Okay, well, the cheese needs some acid, and maybe the little pieces of fruit would like something that's also a little tangerine-y. So maybe a Pinot Grigio or a nice light Chablis style Chardonnay that has a little bit of that floral edge. So you bridge the flavors you taste in the food to what you smell in the wine. This is actually one real reason that you can actually care about what you smell in a wine. And if you can tell the difference between peaches and nectarines by smelling a wine, well, you know which would match better, a grilled nectarine or a grilled peach with melted burrata cheese and Marcona almonds over the top, which would be better with which wine. Got it? So we're bridging the flavors of the wine to the dish. And then here we go. Experiment, taste constantly, get into the sensory zone. That means really pay attention with your nose. You can smell stuff or you can really smell stuff. And the more brain power you put into that sensory attempt, I think you're going to probably find that it's one of the most intense things you can do with your brain is really pay attention to what you're smelling. When I'm judging wine and I spend 6-7 hours judging wine, when I walk out of that room, I got to go take a nap because it feels like I just took the LSAT and got whacked upside the head 3 times with a 2x4. So you'll know that you're really paying attention when it feels like work, really working, getting to that sensory zone. And the cool thing is once you learn to get into that cool work zone with your sensories input, it doesn't feel like work anymore. You just get a lot out of it. Now, Americans, we fought a war to get out of Europe. And so we can basically do whatever the hell we want here. So let's take a chance. Sauvignon Blanc with steak au poivre, it works beautifully. Like I said, a sushi roll with Cabernet Sauvignon works better than you think because there's a shared flavonoid between Cabernet Sauvignon and nori, the type of seaweed they use to wrap sushi rolls. You don't have to think about it anymore as fish with white, red with red meat. There used to be a thing, if you chase it, drink it with white. If it chases you, drink it with red. No, you don't need that anymore. Take a chance. If you don't know what to have, try sparkling wine or a Pinot Noir, but try wines that may not be classical matches, and it may surprise you just how well those wines work. Moving on. So flavor pairing methods, we're going to talk about congruent versus complementary. This is super easy. Congruent means that the wine and the food have a lot of shared compounds. Beef and mushrooms might have a lot of congruent pairings. Also beef and beef, mushrooms, and then Cabernet Sauvignon would make supposedly both. They're all savory, they're all rich, and they should all work together as a congruent pairing. If you wanted to try a complementary pairing, meaning they're going to be a little bit different, just like a lime and a coconut, you put them together, they're a delicious flavor combination, just like chili powder and lime. Another wonderful flavor combination. Sometimes the complementariness of them, just like, I am a right-brained individual, my wife is a left-brained individual. I have ADD, she has OCD, so together we form one perfect complementary brain. So a congruent pairing would be like that beef and mushroom dish with a nice Cabernet Sauvignon. Complementary pairing might be the beef and mushroom. I'm thinking of a stew with maybe a Sauvignon Blanc or a Pinot Blanc or champagne. So you got the beef and the mushrooms, then you got the acid to cleanse the palate in a complementary fashion. Lime and coconut is built in as a complementary pairing. Moving right along. So this is a cool chart. And if anyone wants this stuff, it's all on the Wine Folly web page. This is a free seminar, so I can legally use Wine Folly stuff, but I'm going to give them a huge shout out to say that if I was going to put one book about wine in my classroom or in my tasting room, it would definitely be Wine Folly. And if you don't own this book, you probably should. So you can see what likes what. So bitter does not like, I'm going to say spicy instead of piquant, although piquant is such a beautiful word. If you put a bitter and a piquant together, it does not like it. If you put bitter and acid together, it doesn't like it. If you put acid and piquant together, it doesn't like it. But note, sweet, fat, And salt loves everything. We love things that have fat, sweetness, and salt. I like to say Big Mac, French fries, milkshake. You know, you put all those foods together, they're delicious. Fat loves spicy, fat loves bitter, fat loves sweet, fat loves acid, and fat loves salt. Salt loves fat, salt loves spicy. Salt basically exacerbates the flavor of anything. Acid cleanses our palate. Sweet tells our brain that we're getting lots of calories and makes us happy. Bitter lets us know that we could be eating something that is potentially a little bit toxic, so we have to be careful. Fat means we are putting we're putting some thickness on our bones for winter, so it also makes the brain very happy. And piquant means that whatever plant we're eating had protection, so we wouldn't eat its seeds. One thing that's interesting about capsaicin, which is generally the chemical that's made by spicy things, birds do not have a sensor in their mouth or their olfactory lobe for capsaicin. So birds can eat Scotch bonnet peppers, ghost chilies, and not even break a sweat because they can't even taste it. It has absolutely no impact on the avian palate. Pretty interesting stuff. So that's a really good one to remember. What loves what? These are generally agreed upon by most people who study flavor, that these are flavors that almost all human palates appreciate. So here's your quick breakdown of your rules. The wine should be more acidic than the food. So if you're having a salad, you better have something like a nice rosé with a lot of acid, because if the salad has a little bit of vinegar in it, you got to have a little bit more vinegar in the wine. The wine should have a little more acid than the food. There shouldn't be any vinegar in the wine. That's bad. The wine should be sweeter than the food. This is generally used for dessert wine pairings. You should always use a wine that's sweeter than your dessert. So again, that's why foie gras, which is not sweet at all, is so beautiful with a sweet sauterne, because really you put the nice rich fattiness in your mouth, and then boom, the wine kind of takes over with that beautiful sweetness. And here's intensity to intensity. Wine should have the same flavor intensity as the food. We went through that. Red wines pair best with bold flavored meats. White wines pair best with light intensity meats, and that just goes to the intensity issue. Bitter wines, especially red wines with lots of tannin, like a young Dunn family Howell Mountain until it's 30 years old, are best balanced with fat. It's better to match the wine with the sauce than with the meat. So there's no reason you can't use a sauce that will work with red wine and put it on a piece of fish. A little bit of tomatoes, a little bit of mushrooms, anything that would pair with a red wine. Put it in a sauce, and you can even throw it with a red or a white. So match the sauce to the wine, and then the meat's not quite as important. More often than not, white, sparkling, and rosé create contrasting or complementary pairings, and more often than not, red wines create congruent or similar pairings. Okay. Good enough. And if you want this PowerPoint, just let me know and I'm happy to email it to you. Just a couple last slides. A congruent match means you got your similar flavors. Congruent matches often contain many shared compounds: bitter and tannic, sweet with sweet, acidic with acidic. Flavors accentuate and intensify the effect of tannin, sweetness, or acidity. And Sauvignon Blanc with ceviche, acid with acid. Nice acidic wine with a very acidic dish, or an earthy Pinot Noir with a chanterelle mushroom tart. Again, earth and earth, acid and acid. Congruent or contrasting pairing, otherwise known as a complementary pairing. Sweet versus spicy. Pad Thai with an off-dry white wine like Riesling. So it's going to be sort of the spicy versus the sweet. Acid versus fat, which is my personal favorite type of match. Halibut and a buttercream sauce with a nice Sauvignon Blanc, or maybe a Chablis or a white Burgundy. Duck confit with all that fat, with a nice structured Pinot Noir with the acid and some of those fine tannins are just going to cleanse that duck fat right off our palate with every bite, like a wet nap for your mouth. And then you've got salty versus bitter, and then tannic. So you could go potato chips with a Cabernet Sauvignon, or a saline Chardonnay with braised collard greens. So salty versus bitter, potato chips being the salty and the Cabernet Sauvignon being a little bitter, or saline versus bitter. salty versus bitter, which would be like a nice saline Chardonnay, like a Chablis with those braised collard greens. Should be lovely. All right, here's your cheat sheet. Acidic food should always match with high acid wine. Pungent food like stinky cheese or pate should have high acidity and a little bit of sweetness in the wine, like an off-dry Chardonnay, a off-dry Chenin Blanc, something that has a tiny little bit of sweetness. Rich fatty food loves a high tannin red or an acidic white. Bitter food, avoid tannin. You want slightly sweet wine or a saline wine, but certainly not a big tannic red. Spicy food, cold, sweet wine with low alcohol. Riesling, Gewürztraminer, Alsace, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, the Alto Adige, Tyrol, Sub-Tyrol. And if spicy food is spicy enough to encourage a little bit of sweat, the best wine is beer. Beer is delicious. We could have a whole other class on matching beer with food. And the answer is yes. I would like food and I would like beer. And then with sweet food, we want to use sweet wine, but we want to use a wine that is sweeter than the dish. That is actually a typo, and I'll fix that. The wine should be sweeter than the dish. And to finish up, I just wanted to leave this up for just a sec before I click back to the page to check some of our comments. That the Miller family wines, the promo code MW50 will get you 50% off Barrel Burner, Ballard Lane, and Smashberry wines. If you buy a full case of J. Wilkes, you get a 30% off, 20% off smaller orders. And the website will give you the best discount possible for any mix and match. And I didn't say up above, it does say it's 1 cent case shipping. And that's at millerfamilywines.com. And the promo code is MW50. And that poster is buried down on my Wes Hagen Facebook page and the J. Wilkes website Facebook page. All right, I'm going to go back and see what I can do about seeing. One thing I think I'm going to probably do is go off. Let's see. Okay, so stop share. And this is the first time I've used this software, so I fully apologize that I've been, okay. And then screen, webinar chat. Don't see how I can see all the chat. Okay, so what I'm going to do, cancel, is leave the chat going and see about opening another window for Facebook. Ta-ta-ta, ta-ta-ta. And I will check to see if there are any questions. Beautiful. Ooh. Lovely. Okay, thank you, Phil, out in Maryland, I believe, for telling people to go over to the other Facebook page. And I am now going to go over to the other Facebook page and see if we have any questions. And first of all, thank you guys yet again for making these seminars so special. We've received over 130 orders from this friends and family thing, and we're just so excited about that. There I am. Oh, Anu. Hello. Good to see you. Got Michelle and Jolie, of course. Oh, let's see. I've got, I'm sure there's some more comments, and it looks like some folks have asked some questions. So I am definitely going to try to figure out how to look at all the comments. Oh, okay. Anu asks, so is matching vegetarian food go with the sauce? Yes, but also consider that there are certain wines that match better with vegetarian dishes than others. My recommendation would be to look at Gruner Veltliner from Germany or Austria. Look at Riesling and Gewürztraminer. Look at Pinot Noir. Yeah, if they don't have Facebook, yes, they can go with Zoom. But I need to start planning this a little ahead of time. I was on Zoom figuring this out until literally like 2 minutes before 5. So I was a little flustered when I first came in. So I would definitely say yes. I will get if I continue using Zoom, I'll probably use Zoom at least Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays when I'm giving little lectures. And then we'll see what we can do from there about putting a Zoom link so you guys can join me on Zoom, because I can have up to 100 people on Zoom. The Vineyard on Select Clopepia Estate 13 is drinking well for Phil. Thank you. So to finish Anu's question, vegetarian food is kind of a new thing that we're learning about as far as, vegan is even more difficult. But what I would say is look for fat sources, avocado, oils, and those type of things, and use them to help bolster the fat content in your food, so you can use wines that are traditionally matched with non-vegetarian cuisine, because then those oils and those fats will help balance the structure in the wine. But Gruner Veltliner with vegan cuisine is fantastic, and most Rieslings and Gewürztraminers, especially the slightly drier off-dry ones, match beautifully with them. All right. Love Zoom, says Michelle. Okay. And can a person watch this? Okay. There's also a question, what I would match with coconut curry. Oh boy. You know, I think depends on what you're going to be putting the curry on. You know, if you're putting it on chicken, you know, I would say a Chablis, Pinot Blanc. Again, back to Riesling and Gewürztraminer, especially if the curry's got some bite to it. I think would be a very good option. Let's see. And then let's see. Will you agree that popcorn goes with everything, or the best bottle to order for a group table would be a Brut Rosé? You know, Michael, I kind of do agree that if everyone's eating different things and you don't want to go around and figure out quote unquote the perfect match, a bottle of bubbles and a bottle of Pinot Noir, especially from Santa Maria Valley, would be about perfect for any dish. If anyone can come up with a dish that would not match with either bubbles or Pinot Noir, I might hear asparagus or Brussels sprouts. That's why I bring bacon with me everywhere I go, and truffles, little bacon, little truffles. Is there a good coconut, you know, curries in Santa Barbara? Yes. First of all, if you want good curries, definitely you can come to Lompoc if you like the Hmong style curry, because we have something like 12 Thai restaurants in Lompoc, and a couple of them are fantastic. I like Herb Home and the original Thai restaurant. I think it's called Thai Cuisine. And there's another one, Suvan's Kitchen. Fantastic Thai and Hmong food in Lompoc. But there is not an Indian restaurant between Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo, which breaks my heart, because as someone who would love to eat more vegetarian and vegan cuisine, I am basically unable to eat Indian food unless it comes out of a packet or a frozen dish. So that's tough. That's tough. Let's see. What would I pair with a 28-year-old bottle of Vinsanto? Well, I mean, Vinsanto to me is not a session beverage. It's a beverage for sipping. It's an oxidized, slightly elevated alcohol wine. I've only had one Vinsanto in my life, and it was actually having dinner with Gerald Asher, giving an interview for Gourmet Magazine. And if you haven't read Gerald Asher, I think he's one of the greatest wine writers in the history of the world. And he said the Vinsanto we had was not very good. What did he do with it? I believe he dipped his biscotti in it. If I knew more about Vinsanto, I know that in general, wines that have a little bit of that savory oxidative character match nicely with slightly sweet and saline dishes. I think about Vinsanto because it has a character not unlike a sherry. Chilled Vinsanto with a dozen oysters might be pretty badass. Unfortunately, I don't feel I'd probably have to ask someone about Vinsanto. And of course, if you have, and I'm trying to figure out how to look at all the comments, because they're not letting me scroll between the comments like I normally do. And let's see, I keep clicking 35 comments. Pair port or Madeira with Stilton or dark chocolate. I think Stilton. It's one of the only blue cheeses I like with wine. I think port with Stilton is absolutely, pretty much one of the finest things you can possibly match. A lot of blue cheeses make anything you taste a little corked to me. So I'd be a little bit, Zinman, I would say that 28-year-old bottle of Vinsanto, let's get together and drink it, and then we'll make a decision on what it matched best with. How about that? And then, why can't I see all the comments? I'm wondering if there's any possibility. If anyone knows how to see all the comments, watch together. Huh. I can't go back and forth through these. That's such a bummer. Oh yeah, 17 and 18 growing season. So 17 was the warmest, shortest growing season I knew. And 18 was one of the longest, coolest growing seasons since for the last 10 years. So 17 sort of ended a situation where we thought we were just getting hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter, vintage by vintage, 15 hotter than 14, 16 hotter than 15, 17 hotter than 16, waiting for the other boot to fall in 18. And it was gorgeous and cool and didn't go over 80 degrees all year, all summer, July and August, 74, 75, all day, every day. Didn't even go over 80 until September. So really, really special. Port Vergari, if you don't know David Vergari, man, you should. Man made some amazing wines all over California, including some incredible sparkling wines over the last 10 years at Thornton in Temecula. One of the men I would say that changed my opinion of Temecula wine. Port, Stilton, and ginger snaps. And remember, the overarching idea of food and wine pairing that I'm teaching today and that I teach my classes at Allen Hancock College is that the most important thing is you love what you drink and you drink what you love, and you spend an extra hour at table doing experimentation with food and wine every single day. Ah, yes. All right. And then we had, how does it compare with 19? So I think 19 is going to be incredibly analogous to 18. So I think 18 and 19 are both going to be cool climate vintages with good acidity in the whites and the reds, especially in Santa Maria Valley. Extraordinary wines in all through the Central Coast. Everywhere I make wine, from Paso Robles all the way down to Santa Maria Valley, I think are going to be incredibly special. Let me see if So I will definitely go through all of your comments one by one once I finish, and I will answer anything and everything. Please feel free to leave any comments about, hey, I was wondering what I should match fried squash blossoms stuffed with goat cheese with a marinara sauce. And I will go through every single one of your comments and make sure you get clarity and information about all that good stuff. So that should be wonderful. So while we're on ginger, consider the ginger shortbread cookies from Amazon. I'd say they would go nicely with an Amarone. Yeah. Or a late harvest Gruner. You know, I have never had a late harvest Gruner. Well, that would be awesome, Zen Man. I would really appreciate it. That would be fantastic. Yeah, so ginger shortbread cookies from Amazon. They pair great with late harvest Gruner, which makes me think they would pair with any aromatic white wine that would be made in a style with a little bit of residual sugar. Open another window on Facebook. I'm going to do that. I had another one open, and then I'll also look real quick. Okay, cool. Well, it looks like all of you came over here and asked all your questions, so that's awesome. I'll just do a couple more minutes, and then tomorrow when I wake up, I'll make sure all the questions are answered, because I'm going to have a little downtime with the missus, and we're going to go on to Disney Plus and watch some funky Marvel movie, probably with Chris Hemsworth. I'm guessing it's going to be my wife's suggestion. And probably not Fat Thor either. No, still holding me back. So I will definitely. Ooh, you're gonna send me a late harvest Gruner? Well, I would send you something back delicious and wonderful too. Yes, Jolie. David Vergari's Vergari wines, San Giacomo Pinots were very memorable and incredibly delicious. Vergari says, late harvest, Gruner Veltliner, be still my break heart. I'll check in with Dutton and get back to you. So Tracy Dutton is a wine judge friend of David and mine, and she has probably one of the best palates I've ever judged with. And she does all the wine pairings and training at CIA Greystone in Napa. Amazing. Amazing. Cool. I apologize. I wasn't able to go through all the comments like I normally are. I'll figure out how to fix that in the future. I don't know. Maybe can I click on that? Oh no, that's volume. No, that's not doing me any good. Oh, wait. Sweet. I found it. I'm in. All right. So I'm looking. Okay. So I got a woohoo for Chanda. Beth says hello. Nancy says they're here again. I hope you and Wally are doing incredibly well. Yes, they're not supposed to be able to see me on the Wes Hagen page anymore, Eddie, because I am teaching them all to come here. Thank you, Eddie, for letting them know. What's up? 91 points on the Zinfandel from the tasting panel. Thank you, Phil Pierce. Yes, you Italians, you funky people with a vowel at the end of your name should never be trusted at bocce. And you should know that you see food as simple as wine is food. I've never been to Italy and seen anyone over 13-year-olds at lunch or dinner having their meal without a glass of wine. Awesome. Thank you, Anu. And Elaine and Scott, really appreciate you guys coming in from Vegas. I hear Vegas is rather quiet. And I will suggest for my friends Will Costello, Master Sommelier, and my friends Elaine and Scott, and all my friends in Vegas hospitality, please, in the next couple months, put a trip to Vegas in 2020 on your calendar, because they're going to really, really need your help. Thank you, Shelly. Appreciate it. Appreciate you taking some time away from your new job as homeschooler. Shelly is Nicholas, who's basically my boss and the owner, the vice president of sales for Miller Family Wine. When your boss's wife is watching, I hope she didn't hear my first comment about BS. I should have said BS. I know I should have said BS. Foie gras and German Riesling. I agree, David. What pairs well with Facebook Live by Wes? Ballard Lane Zinfandel 2017, baby. It's just you're a week or less away when you order it at millerfamilywines.com. I disagree with maybe that's how you were a couple years ago, Jolie, but you're becoming a lean, mean fighting machine. Every time I see you, there's less and less of you. Michelle, you can send me a Facebook, just a message with your email address. Again, I always say this at the end. If you stayed with me this long and you haven't contacted me already, I've got a running list. If you order a case of wine from this special, or you order a case of wine from the Miller Family Wine Company, mixed, J. Wilkes, whatever, send me an email. Or it's whagen@jwilkes.com or weswines@gmail.com, and give me your address, and I'll send you a personal note and a corkscrew in the mail, and I will disinfect it before I send it. That would be good. Let's see. And all right, I'm doing well so far. We got the coconut curry, vegan food. Again, I would always go with the sauce, but also think about the protein and fat level in the protein, if there is protein. That was just a dry cough. Don't worry, I'm okay. All right. Brut Rosé, yes, Michael. I don't think there's a better matching wine on the planet. People always say it's Pinot Noir. So is it Pinot Noir that's the magic, or is it the sparkling? Yes, the answer is yes. Only a few reasons I drink sparkling wine. Either it matches deliciously with the food I'm eating, or I'm thirsty. That's it. Large group of different eaters thinking Pinot Noir to match all. Yeah, I would get a bottle of sparkling wine for every 4 people at the table, and a bottle of Pinot Noir for every 3 people at the table, and then let it ride. And then if there's some people that make a stink about there not being any buttery Chardonnay, maybe a bottle of Rombauer to keep those people happy. Let's see. Good show. And a couple last ones. Thank you, Cheryl. I hope the McPhillips clan is doing well down in the beautiful and cool confines of winter in Sierra Madre, California. Love me, Sierra Madre. What a wonderful place. I answered the question about 17, 18, and 19. Talked about ginger snaps and Stilton. Thank you, David Vergari. Let's see. Gosh, you know what? I am the last person to ask about matching with Amarone. I can ask my friend Will Costello, who's a master sommelier. He would certainly know a lot more about that. So I'll get back to you on that for sure. And let's see. Cool. Thank you, Michelle. Send me that email. That's fantastic. And oh, Tammy and Melissa, welcome, welcome. Stoked you guys are here. I hope everything's going well with you, Tammy and Melissa. Peter, do wine glasses really make a difference? That'll be for definitely a different show. I like that. We'll definitely put that in one of our Friday shows, because Friday is meant to be more for the industry. Wine and food pairing being something that, you know, people in restaurants and servers really should know. Let me give you my 10 seconds of sort of finger pointing. If you sell wine for a living in a restaurant, I'm going to give you a way to give you an $18,000 a year raise when you go back to work and we can all be in restaurants again. And that is to sell 6 bottles of wine on the floor every night. We'll on average give you about $54 a night, 5 shifts a week. You're looking at about $18,000 a year. If I was a restaurant owner and I had 10 people come and ask they wanted to be a server, and one of them had a WSET or a Quarter Master Sommelier level 1 PIN, I would certainly hire them, because I know that you don't make money selling food at a restaurant. You make money selling booze at a restaurant. Speaking of which, it's still day outside and I should be drinking. Also, next week, I do plan on doing my take on drunk history, which will be far less alcohol, but a far more entertaining, a very entertaining production of the history of wine. So we're going to be doing basically the only subject that I've never seen really even talked about on drunk history, which is the history of drunkenness, or the history of inebriation, the history of intoxication, and the history of fermentation. So I think either Wednesday or Friday next week, we're going to do a slightly extended version of this show where I'm going to do, just for you, because I have no interest in this, I'm going to do a couple shots. And then under the influence of said alcohol, I'm going to break down the history of alcohol for you. So that should be fun. And then do wine glasses make a difference? That'll be one that we'll definitely put in on a Friday. In general, the whole idea, though, just to give you a quick 10 seconds on it, the idea of the Riedel originally was that it would direct the wine from the specific varietal to the tongue zone that has higher, like if the wine has acid, it would go to a certain part of your tongue, or if the wine, had a lot more richness, it would go to a certain part of your tongue. The physiology that the Riedel protocol was based on has been proven incorrect. Every single papilla on your tongue has the independent ability to taste all 5 flavors. The papillae and the flavor receptors on your tongue are not sequestered by salt, sweet, bitter, etc. There are quadrants of the tongue that have a better capacity to pick up those flavors. So I'm very hesitant to say that all the different glass shapes are better for the different varietals. I use the Sauvignon Blanc Riedel glass. What I love about good stemware, whether it's a $80 Zalto or a $3 Riedel that I got a great deal on, or one I brought home from a wine tasting, is that the rim is incredibly thin and delivers the wine without going over that stupid little bead on like a cheap ass Libby glass. So I just like a nice crystal stem with a thin rim. As long as I can swirl my wine and kind of have fun with it. This is kind of my current favorite glass. This is just the Riedel Venom Burgundy. I don't want to tell you this because some people pay $20 for them at tasting rooms with a logo. These are $2.46 if you buy a couple hundred. Fortunately, I go to so many damn wine tastings that I get all the glasses I want, and I'm throwing wine glasses away more often than I'm keeping them. But I think this is a pretty good all-purpose glass. I would normally suggest for an all-purpose glass, the Riedel Venom Sauvignon Blanc, I think is probably the best glass in the market for every wine in the world. Also, the Riedel O. After I talked a little smack about Riedel, I'll give them a little love. The glasses we use in our house on a regular basis for both beer, wine, and even sometimes spirits are the O glasses, the stemless Riedel glasses. And the first time you load your dishwasher with Riedel O and figure out how easy it is to get them in and out without breaking them, you might never use another stemmed glass again. But when I'm evaluating wine, I do like the stem. I do like putting my thumb right here on the bottom of the glass so I can give it a little swirl. Why do we swirl wine? Of course, to excite the wine on a molecular basis. Fill the bowl with a vapor phase of the wine. So when we stick our nose in, we're getting that beautiful, vinous, grapey, primary character from this gorgeous Ballard Lane 2017 Zinfandel. Okay. Yes. Dominic, who also has a beautiful Italian last name like David, is having some homemade Pinot hybrid blend with an aged Gouda. Of course, the Dutch would call it Gouda. Aged Gouda is one of my favorite cheeses in the world. I don't like smoked Gouda, but a nice Beemster or a nice Rembrandt with a little bit of that sort of crystalline minerality and a little bit of that kind of like nice aged character is absolutely wonderful. Yep, and Michael Holland agrees that those nice burgundy glasses make everything taste better, of course, because it's broad. What's happening is the wine's going up on the surface tension of the glass, and then it's going into a vapor phase as it basically comes out of it. The one thing I don't recommend if you want to be taken seriously around wine people and wine geeks is to start talking about legs. There's really only one reason to be talking about legs, and that is you don't know a lot about wine. You've had far too much to drink. You want to say something to the people at the table drinking the wine, but you have no freaking clue what you're talking about. So you look up at and then sort of in a sort of half drunk glazed look, you say, wow, look at those legs. And everyone who knows what they're going on is legs have absolutely no indication of quality in wine. What they will show you is how much glycerin, how much alcohol is in the wine, and how much residual sugars in the wine. And it might look kind of cool and fun, but really not much it's going to teach you. All right. Best wine with chips, salsa, and guacamole? That, sir, would be Modelo. Modelo. Or maybe, I don't know, Pacific Plate, if you guys make a lager. Eddie Gray asked me that question. He's one of our great wine reps with American Wine and Spirits down in the Los Angeles area. We've done some amazing winemaker dinners. He's one of my favorite guys. And he's also a partner and part owner at Pacific Plate Brewery. I tried their horchata, I think it was an horchata stout. It was absolutely delicious. So if you like beer and you like, I don't know, there is something about Mexican food that seems, unless I'm in the Guadalupe Valley or I'm eating some high-end Mexican food, maybe some seafood enchiladas at Cielito Lindo, which does amazing Mexican seafood down by me. That would be perfect for like a Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Blanc, Viognier, something like that. But damn it, if it's hard for me not to order a Negro Modelo or just a Modelo Especial. I think if it grows together, it goes together. And most of that Mexican food grew up with beer, not wine. There's certainly regions, from sort of Mexicali, down to, Ensenada, that if you look at the Guadalupe Valley and some of the wine production regions are making some of the least known best wines in the world right now down there in the Valle de Guadalupe. But in general, I'd say my favorite wines to have with chips, salsa, and guacamole would unfortunately be beer. If I had to choose a wine though, I do the Smashberry Rosé, the Ballard Lane Sauvignon Blanc, or if we were going to go out of the Miller family world, I would do probably a Prosecco or a Cava. Prosecco would probably be my choice. And Joseph came in. I hope the Bentons are all well. Oh, you're drinking tequila. Aren't you lucky? Oh, man, I remember tequila. It's delicious. Michelle, having some chips and guac. Jane is in the house. Michelle's back. If you prefer a red, try a Tempranillo. Yeah, Tempranillo. I think the guacamole's got enough fat that it can cover the tannins in the dish I'm a little worried about the salsa because when I tend to have salsa with my chips, I tend to go to the spicy stuff. It's the spicy kind of that makes me a little bit worried about going with something that's on the wine side. Kent's Red. Kent's Red is a wine that we're doing only at the tasting room right now and in our wine club for Jay Wilkes. It's 90% Barbera, 10% Lagrind. So I would say like some nice like meat, or if you're doing veggie stuff, maybe a ricotta cheese ravioli with a nice marinara sauce. It would be absolutely delicious if you eat meat with a stew. With anything, especially something kind of a winter stew or something like a cassoulet. I think of just standard spaghetti and meatballs. If you don't eat meat, the meatballs, the meatless meatballs at Trader Joe's are fantastic. If you haven't had them, they'll blow your mind. So pasta, lasagna, meat dishes, vegetarian dishes with eggplant and goat cheese, I think would be fantastic. Good stuff. She's getting legs. Yes. Jolie is singing ZZ Top with me. I saw that ZZ Top has a new documentary on Netflix. I'm totally going to watch it. That was fun. Bohemia. Yes. Is good or better than Negro Modelo. I would agree. Cabs from Baja are great. I totally agree. And Phil came back and Anu is telling me that meat is good, even though the ethnicity of his name tells me someone in his past probably wasn't all that stoked on eating cow. I only say that because I know you and I like you and I know that we can talk some smack. I'm Presbyterian, so you can call me cheap. Well, I was. My family was Presbyterian. You know me. Cool. Well, I think I got through most of that stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed our little time live together. I hope you have time to go to the Miller Family Wine Company. Don't forget MW50 will get you 50% off anything except Jay Wilkes. And if you buy a case of Jay Wilkes, you can get it for 30% off. So ZZ Top, the doc is excellent and great. And we're still only a couple episodes into the Grateful Dead one on Long Strange Trip, which I guess is showing on Amazon. So looking forward to that as well. And I'm going to leave you guys to this. Tomorrow, I'm just going to come on at 5 o'clock. I might just put a Zoom link and let you guys come on Zoom. And that way we'll just kind of do a group chat. And that way it won't be about me, but it'll be about all of us. Thank you, Michelle. Really do appreciate. Reds with everything to pair a red with what she's eating that day. Well, red wine is the safest and healthiest way to put alcohol into the human body. I've never met a doctor that would debate me on that subject. So red wine is definitely a wonderful way to make us feel good every day. Okay, I like that Zoom link, and so does Hillary. So I will see all of you guys, plus all of your friends, if you guys want to do a hangout tomorrow at 5 o'clock, and I'll be on a little bit early and check the link at Wes Hagen and at the Jay Wilkes Wine Santa Barbara, and I'll make sure the Zoom link is up, and we will have a good time chatting about nothing in particular tomorrow. In fact, I won't bring anything tomorrow. I want you guys to bring the questions. I want you guys to bring the passion and all the excitement, so we feel like we're all hanging out and we're still all human beings on a planet spinning 27,000 miles an hour through space. Take care of each other. Show compassion to everyone you meet, even the people that don't look happy. Smile, smile, smile. Make sure the people in your life know that you love them. If you have anyone in your life, even tangentially, that are a little bit on the senior side or a little on the side of being a little bit sort of exposed to this danger more than others, please give them a call and just tell them that you're thinking about them. It's the time to show as much humanism, science, care, and rationality as possible to get through the other side of this. I really care for everyone in my life, everyone in my family, all of my friends. I care all about you guys too. Take good care of the people around you. Take good care of the people that you love. Take good care of the people that you don't love. Smile to the people that look sad. And let's try to elevate and raise everybody up. So when we get to the end of this, we'll learn something from it. We'll be better people from it. and both science rationality and the human experience will be improved. So again, thank you. And I recognize the divinity within you as well. All right, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful time. And I hope you guys learned something. And if you guys want the PowerPoint, you can even just put it in a comment. And I'll send you a private message. I think I can attach it in a private message. If not, I'll ask for your email address. I'll work for it. Don't worry about me. All right, guys, take good care of yourself. I'm going to log out. Be well. If I can figure it out.